Derick Giwner along with Jay Bergman to discuss Breeders' Crown Friday at Woodbine Mohawk Park. There's four big Breeders' Crown races, all for the 2-year-olds, and I'm sure Jay's ready to dig into this nice group of rookie pacers and trotters here.
It's an interesting sort. The game has changed a lot over the last few years, and a lot of regional action. Ontario, Kentucky, Ohio, Indiana, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania. They come from everywhere, and most of them haven't met each other. And it's nice to see the best of the best showing up for the Breeders' Crown.
We're going to dig deep into races 8 and 9, but before we do that, I just wanted to find out who you like in race number 6, which is the 2-year-old Colt Trot.
Last week, there was one horse that just stuck out. Gaines Hanover, driven by Raw last week. The horse was just incredible, well within himself, a 153 mile, and just looked like he could just keep going around the track. Now, 2-year-old trotters, we don't know from, their manners are sometimes in question. And even after the race, there was some question about, not knowing if he was actually going that fast. The horse was just, cruising around the racetrack. So getting the rail, I mean, a lot of people don't like the rail at Mohawk, and there's a lot of reasons why. But if you have a horse that has some speed, or at least tactical speed, I don't think the rail is a bad place to start from. And Gaines Hanover really, really impressed me. And I like to stick with horses also that have been at the track and stayed at the track. And there's some horses that showed up from Kentucky, showed up from other parts, but horses that have been over this track repeatedly, they've got them shod right, they've got them ready, and I think Gaines Hanover pointed in the right direction.
I'm going to go with number 9 in this race, Oh Well. I thought obviously he came up a little short, but he had missed some time. I spoke to driver Tim Tetrick about it. He said that, maybe I trained him, Marcus Meelan, that might have said to him, listen, I didn't really do much with this horse. And, I think you'll have a sharper horse next week. Try to get into the final. He made it into the final. I think the outside post doesn't hurt him. I think the staggered starting gate will help. He'll be able to leave out of there a little bit. And we'll see what happens. We'll move on to race number 7. It's the 2-year-old filly pace, also 600,000 on the line. Jay, who do you have here?
I'm going for the upset because I really think there are two standout fillies in here, and the one I'm picking is the third one. But I think that Sylvia Hanover has been fantastic all season long for trainer Sean Stacy, and was again very impressive in last week's elimination. She fell asleep a little bit in the second quarter, but woke up when it really mattered in the home stretch. And I think from just a historic point of view, horses that relax and don't do very much, but know what to do when the outcome of the race is at stake are horses you really want to follow. And Sylvia Hanover is going to be the favorite in this race. That's probably one of the reasons why I just don't want to jump on the bandwagon there. Charleston, also elimination winner, drew the rail, but Strong Poison and Yannick Gingras finds a very good spot, post 2 between the two choices in my mind. And I think last week he tested her. When Charleston came up on Strong Poison last week, Yannick was past an early stretch, but he just didn't let the filly give up. She's a daughter of Always Be Mickey, and Always Be Mickey, some of the good ones are ones that try, and Strong Poison looks like one that tries. Obviously, Sylvia Hanover's an Always Be Mickey also, but I like Gingras in a position to upset with this Ron Burke horse, Strong Poison.
I'm going with a lukewarm call on the one, Charleston. Lukewarm, not because I don't like the horse, but more because I'm not sure what the price is going to be. If the price ends up being too low, I think there are enough talented fillies in this race that one of the other ones could step up. I really liked what McSeaside did last week. That's a horse I might pivot to. We're going to pivot to race number 8, which is the 2-year-old filly trot. We're going to take a look at this field, and it's a pretty strong bunch, but led by basically 3 really nice horses.
There's no question about it. I might put 4 in there if you want to, but certainly Special Way has done nothing wrong. Righteous Resolve has done nothing wrong. Instagram Model hasn't done anything wrong, but hasn't raced the same kind of schedule as the other 2 fillies. And, even Walner Payton, obviously she's been beaten by these horses routinely, but sticks her nose in there every week. So, I think there's 4 horses that legitimately are contenders in this race.
Well, why don't we take a look at the morning line favorite, that Special Way. We'll take a look at the limb win last week, and she comes first over and just kind of blows them away.
One of the things that I concerns me in elimination races is just the way the tactics are handled and what this turned into. And it turned into an eighth of a mile sprint. And Aki Svansted's filly Special Way sprinted really strongly the last eighth of a mile, unused most of the way. Walner Payton follows her home. Mombasita cut the pace, and it was a dawdling pace, and she was respectable.
Yeah, no doubt about it. She was definitely respectable. And listen, I think she's the horse to beat Special Way. There's no doubt in my mind, but I don't see her as a lock. And to me, when you have a horse that's probably going to be close to even money, I think you have to look other places. And for me, the place I looked was Instagram Model, figuring that well, I'm going with three, you say four. Of the three, I feel like she's definitely going to be the one that's most overlooked. She's missed some time. People are not going to think that, hey, this horse is coming in sharp. But I feel like this trainer had said from the start, Annie Stobie, that the British Crown was her goal. She's going to win. She won the Doherty, and she said, next race I'm going to win is the British Crown. So to me, all eyes have been on this race all year long, and anything less than success here is a complete failure.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, having won the Doherty already, I think that's a pretty nice feather in the cap. My feeling about Righteous Resolve is this is still a filly with untapped potential. Every single race I've seen her, and I've seen her in most all her races, she just looks like she's going at a cruising speed without working very hard. Paul McDonnell's been chilly in the bike, never really having to ask her. I really feel that the home field advantage for this filly is extraordinary. Like I said, Special Way, it concerned me, not that she can't win the race. What concerned me with her is that Aki Svansted's still driving her, being that he took himself off of the Curie D on Saturday night in the open trot. And you know, and I have to think, you know, that he recognizes perhaps Dexter Dunn is at this point in his career a better driver than Aki Svanstedt. But for this filly, he's staying on, and I think that there's going to be decisions that have to be made in this race that might make it a little more difficult for Special Way. And like I said, I believe, having seen Righteous Resolve already, she's very manageable. She can leave enough. She can brush. She's shown 27-second speed brushing in major races. I just feel she's got enormous talent that hasn't been matched yet. And maybe because she hasn't faced some of the horses that raced in Kentucky, you know, there's this feeling, well, they went in 52 in Kentucky. She only went in 54 or 53 and change in Canada. Can she really measure up? And my feeling is if she showed up in Kentucky, she trots in 51. I mean, that's the kind of filly I think she is. And obviously she's not the pedigree side. She's a daughter of Resolve, and you know, maybe people don't look at Resolve in the same way they look at Walner and Chapter 7 and those kinds, but he's a well-bred horse himself, and there's no reason why he can't produce a champion. And right now, in my mind, Righteous Resolve's the champion.
Obviously, I picked Instagram Model. You picked Righteous Resolve. But from a betting standpoint, when you go to the windows and you look at the odds, is there an odds level where you say, listen, Righteous Resolve is just too low, the other horses are really good too, I can't play her?
I think, you know, anywhere in the 2-to-1 range and above is fine with me. And I think with the outside post, you know, the Dexter Dunn factor, the other horses inside factor, I think there's got to be money spread, but it's hard. It's hard for me to accept under 2-to-1, but I think 2-to-1 would be my number on her. I just think I just think that the Special Way, as good as she's looked, and she's been brilliant in all the races, I just feel like this is a big task and a very, very different level of competition than she's ever seen before.
Well, I'm looking at 4-to-1 for Instagram Model and hoping to get that. And you know, if she ends up 2-to-1, I won't be playing her. So we're going to move on to race number 9. It's the 2-year-old Colt Pace, also for $600,000, and a lot of horses in here that, you know, perhaps can step up. 2-year-olds always step up late in the season, but I think Confederate's probably the horse to beat.
I have to second the emotion there. From what I saw last week, the fact that the horse had missed pretty much 4 weeks of racing after a very impressive victory at the Red Mile, that whacked out a mile on the front end, came home in 26, and I just think Confederate's going to be much better this week than he was last week, and if that's the case, he's pretty scary.
Why don't we take a quick look at Confederate winning last week? It was an impressive win. The other horse comes to him and he just kind of like shrugs him off and says, "No."
And I don't really think, I mean, even Tim said it after the race that his best game is probably coming from off the pace as opposed to being on the front end. And you see he's chasing him here, but I think that's Timmy just making sure I'm going to win this race and get a chance to get a good post in the final. And as you can see by the view here, post 3 is a good spot to start for Confederate and would probably give Tim the options needed to get that off the pace trip. And certainly with the kind of money that's riding, and last week we saw Irvin Hanover leave the gate. Stockade Sealster's a horse that probably wants to leave the gate. There may be others in there to leave the gate. So there could be enough speed in front of Confederate that Tim Tetrick can be chilly up until the 3/4 pole.
Let's take a look at the other limb winner, Handle Like a Porsche, who was impressive in his own right, no doubt about it. And another horse I'd point out might be Combustion here, who kind of left a little early in the mile, but had some late pace as well.
I thought Combustion was really, really good. But again, I think he has to play off some of these horses. And as you can see, Handle Like a Porsche was unable to win the Jersey Sire Stakes against a nice horse named Vukafalis. And but since getting out of the Jersey Sire Stakes competition, the son of Lazarus has really taken off. He was very powerful in Kentucky, and this was his best mile as far as I could see because he was cruising over the wire and had to take some air and didn't seem to matter at all to him.
The horse that finished second to him was coming really fast late. I believe it was Hunting the Last Dollar. To me, I look at this horse and I see a horse that's definitely going to get some attention from people who say, "Oh, look at that strong effort there. He was flying late." But to me, it's, I don't know, fool's gold.
Probably because, I think the horse has talent. I think the horse showed some talent in the New York Sire Stakes program when I saw him race. So I do think he's a player. I just don't know that he's a player at the elite level at this point in time. But again, I don't think there are that many outside of Handle Like a Porsche, Confederate, the Combustion you mentioned. We left out Stockade Sealster, who just happened to win the Metro this year. I think that the Stockade Sealster is the bigger question mark about what we're going to see out of him this week, where he finished third in his elimination. He's only lost 2 races this year, and that was one of them. But he came back after a third place finish in the Metro elimination to win the final. So, Stockade Sealster's been in 50 or better. He knows the track because it's the only track he's ever raced at. So the real question is, will the Stockade Sealster, the one the Metro, show up? I'm not so sure that's going to be enough to win this race because I think this field is stronger than the Metro final. But still, Stockade Sealster should be somewhere, at the start of the race, should be leaving the gate.
I want to touch on one other horse, and that's Ammo, who's very lightly raced, only 4 starts this year. Trainer Joe Holloway, has spoken highly of this horse. I thought the elimination effort was pretty good, uncovered, held his ground pretty well. The post isn't ideal, but given the right trip, couldn't this horse, move forward? Only his 5th lifetime start?
I think so. I just think, you have to ask yourself what the right trip is, because if he's coming from behind, he's going to probably be behind Confederate in the flow. He's probably going to be behind Combustion in the flow. And I just don't know if that's going to set up very well here for Ammo. And I just don't know that Dave Miller is the kind who's just going to say, okay, I'm going to wing it and try to blast out in 26 and see if I can get a check. He seems to be more of I'll play off the rest of the field and hope I get lucky, sort of like he did with Double Deceiver last week. Just happened to be skimming the pylons when everything opened up for him. So I just don't see Dave being the overly aggressive guy with a horse of this caliber.
We're going to take a look at our picks, and I think we're both on the same horse here with number 3, Confederate. I'm looking to beat Handle Like a Porsche underneath I like Stockade Sealster, who I think certainly will be leaving, so he'll be in contention. Combustion, I mentioned, and maybe even Ammo if he gets the right trip for your tries or your supers. Jay, you're sticking with the chalky exactly here.
Yeah, I think I have to. I mean, Handle Like a Porsche, I didn't know what to make of him, and I was kind of thinking in the eliminations he was going to blow up and not be the same kind of horse that he showed in Kentucky. But I actually thought he was just really, really strong. And, Dexter Dunn tucked him for a second, and it was like, okay, I'm not sitting here too long because I've got too much horse, and I'm not going to get stuck behind this horse. And I just thought that he seems like whatever he didn't have earlier in the year in the Jersey Sire Stakes, he seems to have found. And as you said, some of these 2-year-olds do find themselves later in the year, and he seems to be that kind of horse. And certainly anyone who's watched the sport in the last 2 or 3 years knows Dexter Dunn basically lives for these moments. I mean, these are the nights that he's at the top of his game, and certainly if there's a way to pull off an upset, I mean, he's going to be interested in trying for it.
Jay, you've been watching the Breeders' Crown series since the beginning. Can you believe we're coming up on the 40th year?
It makes me pretty old, to be honest with you. I was at the first one actually in Lexington, Kentucky, in 1984. And it's certainly come a long way, but so has the breed and the quality of these horses. The dynamics of the races have changed to some degree because of where these horses are all coming from. There was no such thing as an Indiana program. There really wasn't a very effective Ohio program, and even Ontario was a little bit of a sub program when everything started. But where it is right now, I think we have some very healthy programs, and it's nice to see that you don't have to have a certain type of horse to win this race. You can be in a regional player, and then you can come here and you can still win. And I think that's the beauty of the race itself, and certainly what we're going to see the next on Friday and Saturday night looks like it shapes up just a great challenge for all those horses meeting pretty much for the first time.
Well, again, 4 Breeders' Crown races on tap on Friday, October the 28th at Woodbine Mohawk Park. Post time is 7 p.m. We'll have free past performances up on the site, drf.com/harness. You have free past performances for Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So you got to get your handicapping done. Good luck.